Hello and welcome to the Ignite Your Leadership Prowess podcast. I'm Mutiat Adebowale, your host as usual. And today on the program, I've got a very phenomenal guest. I'm sure you'd love to hear the insights that my guest will be sharing. I've got Helena DeMonk. She is a transformation guide for women, executives, and entrepreneurs. Elena's got so much insights that I know that you just can't wait to get all the insights she has for executives, women empowerment, leadership, and so much more. Okay, I'm going to give it to Alina to introduce herself and tell us all of the wonderful things she's been doing in the world. Thank you so much, Alina. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for this wonderful introduction. I'm thrilled to be here and to have this conversation with you. I am Belgian. I'm living in the south of Spain. That was a very intentional choice 4 years ago that actually also changed my life and that made it possible for me to walk my talk. What I do is I coach women that self-qualify as smart, conscious, and high achieving, like most of the executives, entrepreneurs, women that wake up one day and they say, you know what, I spent all this energy, I spent all this time building my career, building my business, and I feel tired. I feel lonely. I feel disconnected. I can't believe that this is all there is. And then I say, of course, this is not all there is. There's so much more. You have so many roles and you have so many aspects that you have been kind of neglecting. And that's okay because you can start doing different things every day. Every day is a new opportunity for you to redirect your life. And I help women to design their life because so many of us, we live the lives that are designed for us, that are expected from us, from our parents, from our culture, historical, or spouses or partners. Everybody has expectations. And we women tend to live by these expectations. And we tend to not look after what is relevant and important for us. We have been brought up to serve, to take care of everybody and everything. And the last one to take care of is yourself. It's very, very low on our priority list. And I changed that. I support women to get out of their own way and find fulfillment and build momentum in every aspect of their lives. And I do that online. I do that individually and in group programs. And I also have a very, very small but amazing retreat center here on the top of a mountain in the middle of nowhere in Andalusia, where women come for 4 or 5 days to really disconnect from all the noise that they're living in and reconnect with themselves and with nature. That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
That is so fantastic.
Mm,
Wonderful job I can see you doing.
I love it.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
really lovely. So, what are the biggest challenges, in your own opinion, that women face, say in the workplace, or I know it will be different in the workplace, and as entrepreneurs, business leaders who want to really make it happen in their life, have the freedom they want, and just live the best of life that they can have? What are the challenges they face?
It is pretty complex, because we tend to look at our lives like we separate the professional from the personal. And we tend also to separate our identities. We're like the professional woman, and then we're like the partner or the mother or the daughter taking care of our parents, for example, at a certain stage in our lives. So we tend to separate that. And sometimes we even have different behaviors and like different values. So there's a lot of conflicts going on internally because we try to keep those things apart while we are whole. We are, when you talk about integrity, that means we are one person and we cannot separate. And of course, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as an executive, or as a professional in general, you don't bring your personal stuff or your personal issues or problems to the work floor. Very often we bring our professional problems to the house, yes, but we try to separate that. And it is a very difficult thing to do. So we have all these internal conflicts already. Secondly, we want it all. Yeah, we think that we have to, grow up, then we have to study, then we have to work, and then we have to go, we have to retire. And during our work period, we have some phases where, for example, when we give birth, when we have, create our family, we have some phases that we are out. And for the rest, we take weekends and holidays. So we run from holiday to holiday and we exhaust ourselves to try to recover during holidays. We exhaust ourselves again. And there's so much pressure. And I would say, ask yourself, why? Where is this pressure coming from? Why are you giving in to this pressure? How are you looking at things? How are you looking at your career? How are you looking at your life in general in order to allow all these things? It's a very deep question. It is about who am I and how do I want to live? And if you think of it, we plan our holidays a lot better than we plan our lives. In terms of our lives, we think we plan, but actually we do what is expected from us. We do what everybody does. Yeah. Well, there are some exceptions, fortunately, but we do what everybody does. And then we feel depleted. And sometimes some of us say, well, I would like to go to art school, or I would like to go to drama school. And then the parents say, no, 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 no. First study something that can make you money. Become a lawyer or do economy or study engineering, because that's what that's what you can use to be successful in life. Is it?
Yeah, that's very, very powerful, The challenges that women face,
Mm,
comes from different areas. The internal challenges that we impose on ourselves and we do not know, and the external challenges that the society, maybe us as well, impose on ourselves. And all of
exactly.
these, fighting one another. And we're just in the middle, like we're in the middle of the typhoon, the hurricane, we're just swirling round and round. That is so, so powerful, how we put it. And that's why women, continue to face those limiting stuff that stops us from actually achieving and realizing the deep goals that we really want for ourselves. But for people
Exactly.
like you, which is why it's so important to highlight the beautiful work that you do out there, helping women to leverage their internal and the external strength to be who they really want to be. So
Mm.
lovely. So I'd like to ask you, what role do you think mentorship and networking play in empowering women, and how can women effectively leverage those resources?
Oh, that's such a good question. Mentorship and network is key to grow and to develop. We cannot do these things on our own. We are women, there's sisterhood. We long for community. We long to exchange, to interact. We need that. And so building your community of support is so important. And it is also very important to be intentional and conscious about that. There's two things in networking that are important. First of all, be aware of who you choose in your network, because some people are not supporting you. Some people are not having your back. You might be around these people because they're family or they're close for some reason, but don't allow you to get into your inner circle. Fill your inner circle with people who have your back, who are not bringing their own fears on your dreams, who are not projecting their fears and their judgments on your dreams and your aspirations. Go for people that applaud you, that validate you, that support you, that sponsor you. And I'm not saying that you need your validation purely from externally. It is important also to develop this validation muscle internally, that you know your worth, that you know your value. But surround yourself with people that are sponsoring you. And then another thing is, don't be afraid to ask for help, because this is something that women also have, and especially entrepreneurs and executives, because in our businesses, in our teams, we are the problem solver, we are the decision maker, and everybody looks at us to go to define the strategy to achieve the goals. And so we feel like we always have to be there, we always have to know everything, and that's not possible, and it's also not true. So ask your people for help, ask your people for support. You're not there alone, and you don't have to do things alone. So these are two things in networking that sometimes we forget. Who is in it, and how do I activate it? And of course, there's this principle of reciprocity. And if you can live also in your network and in your life in general, in the principles of abundance, gratitude, and generosity, then it's like one circle of positive vibrations, and you will see that your life will shift.
Wow.
And then mentorship and coaching are extremely important, because there's a lot of things that we want to achieve that need for us to grow and to come out of our comfort zone, to shift things in our minds. And it's very, very hard to do that alone, because we have blind spots. We don't want to be confronted with our shadow sides. And we don't always see ourselves completely. It's like when you when you want to play tennis, you know nothing about playing tennis, but this is something that you want. You read a book about tennis. You watch videos about tennis. There's a lot of videos, there's a lot to find on internet about how to play tennis. But as long as you're not on the grass or on the gravel, you have no idea what it is as an experience to play tennis. And then if you do not have a coach who sees you, who see how you move, who see how you do things, that can correct you, that can point out and reflect to you how you are doing, it might take you a very long time before you win your first match. So get help. Look for professionals who are non-judgmental, who have been trained to see and to support you and to get you out of your comfort zone and be this amazing person that you are meant to be. That's the whole story.
Lovely,
Does that make
lovely.
sense?
So fantastic, so fantastic. And I guess that that is part of the strategic agility that you talk about, and the things that help to build resilience in women that I know that you talk about. Lovely. So let me ask you, what are some of the pivotal moments in your career that shaped your approach to resilience and strategic agility that you normally talk about?
You mean personal stories?
Yeah, personal stories,
Yes.
or even the ones you've seen, with your clients that
Yeah.
actually shaped or continue to shape your career,
Yeah.
as you go forward.
Well, I think we all have these very, very important moments in life. Some of them come unexpected, and some of them come even uninvited. For me, one of the moments that really shifted my career was, first of all, I started my own business when I was 25. I'm 59 now, so I'm an entrepreneur for many, many years. And my first job was in recruitment. And I really liked that, but I felt that I didn't really have the space to grow. I wasn't really happy with how I was led with my manager. And so certain moments, certain decisions were taken into the organization I was working for. And I drove home. There were no cell phones at that time, no mobiles. I drove home and I came home and I said to my husband, I'm going to start my own business. And he said, well, you should do that, because you always think you can do better than other people. You always have these very high standards. You are ambitious, you are impatient at that time. You just do that. And a lot of people said, what? Are you going to start your own business? You're 25, you have no experience. How are you going to do that? And I said, well, I'm going to do that. What's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is something for my ego, that I didn't succeed. That's all. Because at that time I didn't have a mortgage, I didn't have children, I had no obligations. So all I had was this ambition to do something with my passion, basically. And so I started my own business in recruitment. And I did that for 22 years. But a certain moment I felt, and this is like things that are growing inside and also are brought to you by things that are happening externally. I saw a lot of people, candidates, applying for jobs because they were frustrated where they were. And when we had a conversation, we both found that actually they were more running away from where they were than they were running towards a new position. Mainly, they were in finance. I was in financial positions, finance and legal, mainly because they had been promoted based on their experience, but they didn't have the leadership qualities developed yet in order to be successful in that new role. So they hit a wall. And what do we do when we hit a wall? We want to run away. Instead of saying, okay, wait a minute, why are we hitting that wall? And so that was where I changed course. And I said, you know what? 22 years in recruitment, it's enough. I would like to follow this new mission, like supporting financial professionals in developing leadership so they can become successful in their positions, in their leadership positions, in their managerial positions. And so once again, everybody said, are you crazy? You have this credibility, you have this, you build up this reputation in recruitment. Are you going? I said, yes, I'm going to do that because this is what I want to do. And they said, but it's a lot safer to stay where you are. I said, yes. And listen to this. It is sometimes very safe to stay. Even if you're unhappy, it's safe because you know it. We are afraid to embrace the unknown because we write scripts about everything that can go wrong instead of living in the moment and really feeling your dream and your passion, and then take the first step and the next step and the next. And while you're taking these baby steps, opportunities will arise because I strongly believe that whatever you want to achieve, the universe is organizing itself around you to support you. And if you find your network of support, if you have good mentors, you can do anything. That's what I believe. And this is also what I help women to do. I am the mentor, I'm the sponsor, I'm the coach, I'm the transformation guide because it's not changing behavior, it's not changing habits, it's changing mindset. And it is absolutely exploring your full identity and all your strengths and all your gifts that you have for this world and just shine and bring them to the world because people are waiting for your gifts. They need it.
That is so, so powerful. I like the way, you talked about how people really think that they're going towards their goal, but not really going towards their goal because they're running away for something they don't want. And then they're running to another thing they're not even sure of, while
Exactly.
not figuring out exactly what they need to actually get to what they want, they really want.
Exactly.
And you talked about, people not having the leadership skills, but rather than address the fact that they didn't have the leadership skills to move them to the next level, they're just trying to run away from that and look for another job, which they don't know where they're going to find there. I mean, that's so, so
Exactly.
powerful. And that is what happens to us. And that's why we go round in this cycle, like we keep going round and round in a circle, not really hitting the point of
Mhm.
what exactly we need to do so that we can become the next level person that we need to become, So yeah,
Exactly.
thanks
Mm.
for shedding that light on that. So you talked about leadership and leadership skills for women. So how do you think women can develop that leadership skills that can help them to progress and advance in a male-dominated industry, for example?
That's a very good question. And it's like the $1 million question. Um, I believe we are talking about female leadership qualities and masculine leadership qualities. I believe that everybody has both. It is basically how we label them. And women have developed certain qualities a lot more, and men have developed other qualities a lot more. And this is really historical. This goes back generations and generations and generations. I mean, from the time that we were hunters. Yeah. So basically, what I see is women are participating in the professional life fully, like for 2 or 3 generations. Think of it. There's about 2,100 generations of humanity, you know, and there's only 2 or 3 since we actively participate. Think of it. How long do we have access to university? How long do we have the right to own a bank account? How long do we have the right to vote? I mean, your mother probably was a professional already. Your grandmother, I'm not sure. So it is very, very difficult to show up there in an authentic way and play the game. So what do? We enter the game that has already been defined by men. And that's not judgment, it's just a fact. It has been defined by men. And so just imagine the game they play in organizations and politics is football. Yeah. It's a masculine game, let's call it football. And we women, we play basketball. Yeah. So we come in, we are excellent basketball players, and we come into a game and they play football. If we keep playing basketball, we will never score because those are not the rules of the game. So a lot of women, what do? They learn to play football. And so they become football players, which is not really who they are or who they want to be, but this is what they're supposed to do. They just go in the game. And so the whole challenge is to create a new game. And that's a responsibility from men and women together to create a new game where the leadership qualities that women have are valued as high as the leadership qualities that are now in the game. And then we will be able to really activate our feminine qualities and integrate them in a new game where you basically level the playing field. And that's a very, very interesting thing because this is going extremely slowly. And there's a lot of resistance against that. Because again, you ask people, you ask teams, you ask organizations to get out of their comfort zone. Yeah. Now, maybe, probably, it will take us like a very, very big bang, yeah, which we as humanity somehow are creating. The question is only when it's going to happen. And then maybe there will be the space to really do this from scratch, bottom up. Now I see some initiatives in organizations, but it is a very difficult thing. And so I would say, as women leaders, as women entrepreneurs, keep activating your female leadership qualities. Bring them in. Keep bringing them in. Surround you again with people. Hire your team. Try to work for organizations or work for a boss that appreciate who you are as a woman and the contributions that you can make as a woman. And of course, we have our masculine leadership. I mean, whenever we manifest, whenever we put something in the world, whenever we achieve goals, this is our yang, this is our masculine qualities, and they're fine. They just cannot be outbalanced because that is completely depleting you. And you cannot have your masculine qualities at work and your feminine qualities at home because you are one person. So try to integrate them, learn to integrate them, look for help to integrate them, because it takes courage to do that. It takes courage to say, no, we will not accept this anymore. It takes courage to set your boundaries and to set limits. And if you do it, you will immediately feel how it impacts you and also how it impacts others, because you are a role model, whether you want it or not, whether you are realizing it or not. Your children are looking at you, your community is looking at you, your team is looking at you. So the way that you show up, the way that you set boundaries, the way that you bring your gifts to the world, the way that you activate your feminine capacity is extremely impactful and will have a ripple effect. And so I can only invite to do that, right?
That is so, that is the way you talked about it is so inspiring,
Mm,
knowing that female or male, everybody, but female leaders and women generally do have their feminine leadership capabilities. They've got their masculine leadership capabilities, and how you merge this together forms the core of who you really are. And not to shy away from bringing out these qualities within you is that thing that's really going to stand you out as who
exactly.
you are, bring your uniqueness and bring your power to the fore. Wow, thank you so much. That is really, really lovely. So I'd
You're
like you
welcome.
to think about, you talk about these leadership qualities that women need to bring to the fore. How about the importance? Is there any importance in emotional intelligence for women, either as a leadership quality, as a trait, as a characteristic, or as a knowledge they need to have and develop? Is there any importance in terms of emotional
Absolutely.
intelligence, female women leaders, and how can they bring this, just blend this together, develop it and use it?
There's so many forms of intelligence, and of course, we all know IQ, and most of us also know emotional intelligence. I would say there's also conversational intelligence. There's also cultural intelligence. There's so
Yeah.
many things that we can develop at least awareness and knowledge about. Emotional intelligence is extremely important in every aspect of our lives, and the things that are, first of all, what is really important is that you create a language around that. A lot of people do not even have words for their emotion. They are very, very limited in naming the emotion. They are very limited in really go through that feeling. They also are limited in being aware of the triggers. And so there's a lot that you can do there to become more aware. I mean, where does anger comes from? Where does fear come from? Where does joy come from? What is it that I really feel? Am I angry or am I sad? Because if you lose something, sometimes we manifest it in anger, but it's sadness. Yeah. Is it frustration? Is it irritation? Is it anxiety? There's so many feelings. And so, I mean, you can Google this. There are beautiful, beautiful visuals with all the emotions that we have and like definitions, and try to connect with yourself and with your emotions and become aware of what you feel and what is triggering it, because a lot of our emotions are triggered by values, by conflicts in our values, by somebody pushing our boundaries, by conflicting values that we are sometimes not aware of, and we feel things and we don't know really what it is. Again, it's very, very depleting. It's taking away our energy. And then there's all, of course, emotion control and emotion regulation. Yeah. And if you are in an organization, but also as a mother or as a partner or as a friend, some people say, authenticity means that you can you are however you feel. And I say, really, is that authenticity? Because for me, authenticity is living aligned with your values. And if your value is good leadership, if your value is professionalism, then if you are extremely emotional, you don't really need to express that in ways that it is sometimes expressed. I mean, you can be very anxious or you can be very scared because something is going to happen. I mean, there's a lot of leaders now that are very anxious about what AI is going to do, what the impact of AI on their departments, for example. But as a good leader, you don't bring your anxiety and your fear and your confusion to your team. As a leader, you self-regulate. And it's not like you cannot talk about this. You can. I would say you should. I don't like the word should, but it is about having these emotions prevailing rather than bringing it to the table as something that we need to discuss as a team and look for solutions. That's a completely different thing. So emotional intelligence and emotional control and emotional regulation are very important things for leadership and also for self-leadership. Because if we drown in those emotions,
Exactly.
also in the other side, like in joy or happiness, and you know, there is something like what is this about? What is my intention? What is my desired outcome? And who is involved, who are the stakeholders. And if you have all these elements, then you look at what am I going to do, or how am I going to show up, and how far or how close am I going to keep my emotions. Does that make sense?
Exactly, exactly. When you talked about emotions, it really got me like thinking how I personally deal with emotions. I guess is a lot to do with, personal development and coaching and all of those. And then sometimes I may just read something, or I've just had conversation with somebody or looked at my phone or something, and I really just don't know. Maybe 5 minutes after, I just feel like I feel something. I'm down. And then I
Mm,
try to go in myself to say, okay, what exactly am I feeling? And then I reassure myself, I'm not sad, but I'm scared. I'm not sad, but I'm angry. Try just to unravel what am I feeling really, so that then I can deal with what it is, what has caused it to happen. So it really
mm,
made me feel like, okay, yes, I like the way you analyze it, how we deal with emotions and why it is important for us to be, conscious of what emotions we are going through. And you said something, because people don't really explore, the extent of the emotions they can go through, then it
yeah,
makes it difficult for us to actually, you know, categorize, understand what we're feeling and how we want to manage that, and not pull our emotions on other people the wrong way. That was, that
exactly.
was a really, really great one for me there. It really got me thinking,
Yeah.
and
Can I add something
exploring.
there?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I read something beautiful. I cannot give the person credit because I forgot who it was. It was something I read. I think it was on my Facebook timeline. Just imagine. And it was about, well, we all know, of course, we are not our emotions. Like we are not our thoughts. We are different from that.
Mhm,
Sometimes we feel like we are our thoughts or we are our
mhm,
emotions. Like I am angry. I read that beautiful metaphor. It was about sadness. It was about loss. And this person said, sadness is my companion. I am not sadness, but sadness is my companion. And he is together with me on my path, on my life path for a while. And some days he's very, very close to me. And other days he or she is like at a distance. And one day is not the other. But I am not sadness. It is something that is now surrounding me situation. And I thought that's beautiful. That's beautiful because we also think, especially when we are in the moment, in that emotion, we tend to think that this is forever. It's not. It's a think of all the dramas in your life. I mean,
exactly.
they're gone, and probably tomorrow there will be another one, but then the day after it will be gone. I mean, and of course, some feelings like loss and sadness and grief last longer, and some anger also lasts longer, although that you could say is very unhealthy, as especially if you're like, if you take it on you. I thought that was a very beautiful metaphor, like this certain feeling is my companion. It's not me. it's separate from me. And sometimes I feel it more than other days, especially for grief. People will recognize that. And sometimes grief can just be there right in your face because of a certain smell or something that you see, and you are thrown back into your grief for the loss of a loved one. And then the next day you're laughing and you have fun and you will experience joy. So this is how it is. And sometimes we feel a little bit guilty for that, or we feel confused about that. But basically this is how it works. Nothing
Exactly.
is linear. Nothing is
Exactly.
linear. Again, this is a masculine thing. We think everything is linear. Feelings, growth, careers, and it's not. It's
Exactly. I mean,
it's
that
not.
was really well put because these are the strings of things, feelings, emotions that we need actually to fulfill life, really. So when we place them on ourselves as identifying ourselves to that, with that, then that's where things go missing. And
Exactly.
sometimes if we really look intensely, these feelings and emotions are there to make us really feel the core of what we are, not who we are, but what we are as humans. So,
Exactly.
and they're there. They're just there. I don't want us to go too much deeply, but they're there to enhance our
Exactly.
experience as human beings. So not
Absolutely. Beautiful.
there to identify us as who we are or who we ought to be, that sort of thing. Which was why when you talked about, how people should explore emotions and how they use emotions and manage emotions, that was really, really important,
Mm,
for us to grasp. Thank you so
beautiful.
much. So we're running out of time, but I have a few questions for you. I may not ask everything. So what are some tools or resources that you recommend for women looking to enhance their leadership skills and resilience? What tools, resources that you think they can use?
Well, I would like to step away from the traditional ones because your organization will probably provide a lot for you, like leadership programs and coaching and training. There's a lot in terms of leadership development. My vision is a little bit different because if you implement or try to integrate leadership principles on a foundation that is not set, it will not stick. For me, the number one thing in leadership is self leadership.
Mhm.
It is about being aware of who you are, being aware of your values, being aware of what is really important for you, being aware of, again, of your limiting beliefs, being aware of your empowering beliefs. Learn how to shift the first to growth oriented beliefs. So there's a lot about self concepts. I started my coaching in coaching in things like better communication skills, better feedback skills, better delegation, having strategic acumen, executive presence, things like that. But if these things are built on a self concept that is not complete, they just don't stick because they're like behavior that you do because you are supposed to, because you have to. It's not based on a belief of who you really are and what you are worth. So if you want to develop leadership qualities, the first step for me is develop your self leadership, develop your self concepts, know who you are, what is your purpose, what is really, really important to you, and live aligned with that. It's the only way. Live aligned with your values and your purpose is the only way.
Lovely. Live
Mm,
aligned with your values and your purpose is the only way. That is
mm.
fantastic.
Yeah.
That is
And all
fantastic.
the rest will follow
We'll follow. We'll
with
follow.
grace, ease, and joy. Yeah.
Wow. Lovely. Enjoy
Yeah.
it. So, how do you see the landscape of women in leadership evolving over the next decade?
Wow, that's a very interesting question. I don't have a glass ball. I see a lot of women disconnecting. This
Mm.
is what I see the last couple of years, disconnect. This is also why I am so into this mission of building resilience, building agility, building the self-concept, and actually take the responsibility and the accountability to show up and to raise your voice, because we need to do that. I don't really see that. I see a lot of depletion. I see a lot of exhaustion. If you run the figures, I mean, I'm in Spain. 60% of the women in Spain, and I guess it's European, are on medication for sleep or depression. That's a lot of women. I mean, there's a lot of things going on. The vibrations are lower, and I see a lot of people in protect modus. Okay, so I'm now on the audiobook when I'm in the car, Conversations with God, which is an amazing book that I finally got to read. And it was said there that whatever we do is either fear driven or love driven.
Oh,
I see a lot of fear driven activity going on in the world, also with women. And that is why, to go back to what we were talking about, community and network, but I would say community is so important, because we women, when we are in community and when we are in this spirit of abundance and generosity and gratitude, we share, we share, we help each other, we support each other, and we lift each other up. And that makes us be better, and that makes us do better. And so there's like this, there's not only the ripple effect, there's also like the escalating effect. If we do that, if we can raise those vibrations, so we do not lose all this energy and anxiety, but there's trust that we can support each other, then we can turn that. And it's a good thing that there are people like you and like me, and I know other people who are here in the world and who are using platforms in order to encourage and support women, with sometimes very little things that can make a big difference, because we need to shift that. And we also then can take up our responsibilities in organizations. We can show up with all our feminine qualities and gifts and leadership in organizations, again, to build community, again, to focus on people and purpose first.
yeah.
And these are things that I want to support and manifest as much as possible. And I know that you are doing the same, and kudos for you for doing that and for doing this. And I would say anybody that feels like this could be something for them in order to move, to make that next step, you know where we are. Just connect with us and we can take it
Exactly,
from there.
exactly. I was
Yeah,
just going to ask that, and that is so powerful, you know. Um, well, I'm in the UK. I think the last survey, it was saying something about UK almost being, you know, very, very close to one of the most miserable countries where people fall into high depression. And 100%, we see that around us. So yes, and women are a huge chunk of that. And as you
exactly.
said, that's really depleting, on all levels. Which is why, yeah, you do what you can, and we're doing what we can, and hoping that things will get better as we continue to do our little bits, on our
Exactly.
corners of the world. Yeah. So how can listeners get involved in initiatives of or movements, that you are doing that support women empowerment and leadership?
Well, the simplest way is to connect with me on LinkedIn. My name is here. If you just put my name in the search thing of LinkedIn, just connect with me. And then you will be informed about all the things I do. I have a podcast or a talk show. It's called the Boundary Breakers Collective. I guess that doesn't mean more explanation. I have a weekly live streamed power talk for remarkable females. So I mean, it's things similar as what you do, just to build a community. I have a community called Her Space. It's on my website, helenademung.com, which is here on this screen. there's so many ways to connect with me, but also with you and with each other. And then take it from there. Because what we bring also in like in the power talks is these little steps you can do.
Exactly.
It's not like you have to move the world. It's not like you have to move mountains. It's sometimes little things that you integrate and implement in your life, and that can make a big, big difference in how you feel, especially your energy level, especially your focus. And so we bring them on platforms like these. We bring them. So just stick with us and listen and let it come in and take what you think that is relevant for you, because we might say 10 things and only two will land, and that's
Mm.
perfect.
Yeah.
And if you need help, just connect with us. We're here to help you. Yeah.
Lovely. Stick with us, connect with us. Lovely, lovely. Thank you so much. I'm going to add all of the details in the show notes so that and in the description for the video part so that anybody who wants to connect can, easily connect with you. Thank you so much, Helena. You have shared so many great nuggets on this episode today, and I'm so grateful, for everything, your time and coming on the show with me. And that is where we are going to be putting an end to this episode of the Ignite Your Leadership Prowess podcast
Wonderful.
today. And until I see you again, just being the best of who you are. Thank you, Elena, for coming on the show.
Thank you. Bye bye and take care.